Good morning, good morning. All right. I am so delighted to be back here. It's been a minute, and I am really thrilled to be back in the Northwest. I used to come here on a regular basis at this conference because I had a dear friend who worked at the UW, and so this was a chance for me to come back, give back, and also see my girlfriend, which was great. And now I am back and just honored to be with you. We're going to talk about a superpower. Oh, I'm supposed to introduce myself. So my pronouns are she and her. I am 5'6". In my mind, I'm thin and 40, but in reality, I'm kind of chubby, and I'm 75. And yeah, right, 75. Woo! Woo! And I'm wearing a black top and black slacks and a multicolored jacket. All right. Oh, and did I say I have coily hair? Short coily hair, mixed gray. More gray than mixed, but we are talking today about a superpower that most of us think we already have. Most of us think that we're already really good at strategic thinking. There was a study done, people were asked, which reminds me of that. There was a study done of managers. Managers were asked, where were they on a scale of, up to 100 in terms of being a top manager? And all of them put themselves in the top 5 percentile. And then their teams were asked, and you know the answer to that one. You know how that went. But even if you were already good at strategic thinking, today we're going to level up. We're going to level up. So wherever you are, we're going to level up. And we're going to talk about how you can do this, ways you can do this, how you can carve out time. So I should get my little clicker, which was here a minute ago. Oh, thank you. Is anything moving? Okay, I'll just move it. So today, we're going to just first, make sure we understand what we're talking about, right? How do we define the terms? And we'll talk about the components of it. What is it practically? How do I practice? Where do I use it? And we'll talk about how we can carve out time. Notice I didn't say make time, because you can't make time. There's just so many hours in the day. There's just so many, days in the week. There's no way you can make time for anything. And I think one of the reasons that we're always running out of time is because we think we can. We think we can make time. So we're going to talk about how we can carve out time for thinking. Did you know that one of the things that helps us think and create and be innovative is when we're not thinking about it, when we're in stillness, when we're walking in nature. But what do most of us do when we're walking? Oh, excuse me. Right? We have our heads down. Anytime there's a minute, we grab our phone. Every time there's 1 second of to relax, to breathe, we have to turn on something, look at something, do something. And that is antithetical, I'm saying that right, to being a good strategic thinker. So let's dive in. I should say to you that there will be a number of questions I am asking you, and you are required to speak to me. I will come up and hunt you down. So, good. Move on to the next. Oh, that's right. I can't use this, right? It doesn't work. Okay. So while she's working on that, my question to you is, what is strategic thinking? Notice I didn't say strategic planning. Strategic planning is not strategic thinking. You need strategic thinking in order to plan strategically. What is strategic thinking? It's big picture, not tactical. What else? Imagination, yes. Innovation, what else? What's strategic thinking? Weighing power dynamics. Say more about that.
Just knowing who's in the room, what resources you have.
Yes, who's in the room? What resource? Who's in charge? Who do I have to persuade? What else? Forward thinking. It's not what I'm doing tomorrow. It's forward thinking, long term. Anything else? Imagination. I like that. I'm glad you said that. That we do have to be a little courageous. And as we go through this conversation this morning, you're going to see that there are lots of places where you have to be courageous. You've got to speak truth to power. You're going to have to say no so that you can say yes. Yeah, so I like that. Courageous. Anything else? Yes.
Curiosity.
Yes, curiosity. We're going to talk about that. Yes.
It's also
Proactive, not reactive. Anything else?
practical.
It's practical. Practical and pushing the envelope. And I just heard one over here. Impact. It is about impact and outcomes. It's about changing something that aligns with your mission and your vision and your organizational values or your personal values if you're using your strategic thinking at home. Yes, yes, yes. All of those are excellent. This is working? Oh, thank you. This is, I like most of these words you guys said, but one of the words we didn't mention is intentional. Strategic thinking requires intention. It is not done on the fly. It is not done, like I'm thinking about 12 other things and, I ought to think about this one strategically. That just doesn't happen. You have to be intentional. What is it that I am trying to accomplish? And notice that there is the analytical portion that you have to think about. You have to gather data. And your curiosity, somebody said curiosity, your curiosity has to be there because otherwise you won't gather the right data. You won't gather the right information because you are not curious. You're not interested in what other people are doing and saying. And we need, strategic thinking requires certain skills. So research and curiosity, we said, analytical thinking. We talked about innovation, collaboration. It is really hard to be a good strategic thinker if you are not willing to cross over your silos and go talk to somebody else, go ask a question, go be interested in somebody else and what somebody else is doing. So collaboration is required for us to at least implement good strategic thinking. It's about problem solving. Oh, and let me just go back for a second about communication. We're going to talk about speaking strategically. How does one speak strategically? And that's important. You can't communicate big ideas. You can't communicate big strategies if you can't explain to somebody in a way that they're going to hear you. So having the language of strategy is really important. So where in your life, where in your work do you apply strategic thinking? Just give me some examples. Donor outreach. So you use strategy of how we're going to do that. Okay, where else? Plans. There are tactical plans and there are strategic plans, right? A lot of us have tactical fund development plans. Do we have a strategic plan? Where in your work? Forecasting, huge part of strategy. Budgeting, yes. Where else? Program expansion. Team management, excellent. Any researchers in the room? Oh, they're not allowed to come out? You keep your wonderful, amazing researchers locked in the basement? Researchers use strategic thinking all the time. They have to gather disparate pieces of data and information and come back to you with something important. We're in communications. How about in communications or information systems, right? There's lots of places in our work that we have to use strategic thinking. One of the things that we want to think about is that we use strategic thinking, yes, in the long-term issues, but we also sometimes have to use them in shorter periods of time. For example, someone said donor engagement, volunteer engagement. You're going to use your strategic thinking as you think through that donor plan. Yes, you're looking ahead. You're looking ahead. You're looking at how am I going to get to that wonderful, joyful, generous yes. But you're using your strategic thinking to get that plan so you know what to do next, right? So in a variety of places. Can I just turn it myself?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, then you don't have to do that. I can do that. Yeah. So strategic planning is one of the places that we use our strategic thinking long term. How many of you have an active, not a dusty, not a sitting on my computer, I haven't looked at it in 6 months plan, a strategic plan for your unit, whatever your unit is. If you're in the development office, just like proudly. Okay, so not a lot, yay, but not a lot of hands are up. What's the benefit of having a strategic plan for fundraising, a strategic plan for my stewardship program, a strategic plan for annual giving, a strategic plan for my communications? What's the benefit of that? You can see where you're going and how they all interact with each other. Well said.
To build off of that, to also achieve whatever your goal is.
Yeah, it really helps you achieve it because it gives you a roadmap. It's a living, breathing tool. This conference is about building your toolkit. This is a tool. So I'm the chair of the board of Easter Seals Florida, and I annoy them. I do. I'm sure that my CEO, who I love and I have known for 30 years, but she was thinking, I know sometimes she goes home and says, why did this happen to me? Why? But if we don't have these tools, if we're not using them, talking about them, looking at where we are, adjusting them, we chase so many shiny new things. And nothing is wrong with new things. It's great. But you got to say, how does that fit in? How does that fit into what we're doing? How does that fit into where we're going? Strategic planning is important, and it should be aligned with the strategic plan of your organization, and hopefully your organization has one. Yeah, midterm, mid-length. We talked about donor plans. We talked about, how many of you have a strategic plan or know that somebody in charge has it for building your board? Or are we doing it board member by board member? Oh, this breaks my heart. Yay you, yay, the hands that are up, yay. But this is heartbreaking, that we don't have. This is why we end up with board members who don't behave in the way that we were hoping, whatever that was. Whatever you were hoping your board would do, if you don't have a plan, then it's really hard to change that board, to get that board to be the board that you need it to be, which should be a force multiplier. Your board, every time, if you are in the position of having to think, there's a board meeting coming up, what the heck are we going to do with them today? Or there's a committee meeting of the board coming up. Like, what are we going to do? You're in trouble. You should know exactly what you want to do. You should be partnering with that chair, talking about it. Here's what I was thinking. What were you thinking? Here's what I was hoping the outcome would be. And if all you talk to them about is contacts and giving money, I don't want to be wanted only for my money and my list of contacts. That's an awful feeling. That's an awful feeling. So you want to make sure you know what I bring to the party and how that's going to be helpful. And it's so painful, this moment in history where having a diversity, equity, and inclusion, and belonging plan is now somehow seen as a crime, as something bad. You know, I think it's Chick-fil-A. The CEO of Chick-fil-A, who's a super conservative guy who supports the rights agenda and has a diversity officer, and folks want to boycott because somehow, anti-woke. I mean, what the heck is going on in the world? But that doesn't mean you have to succumb and that you need a strategic plan, because we need diversity in every aspect of our lives. There's so much research that diversity of backgrounds, experience, finances, the whole mix, diversity writ large, makes us better. It makes us better. So I want you to apply your strategic thinking skills. We, all of us, collectively, have an event, and you could see that's the first problem. How many people are on this? This is the first big mistake we had, an auditorium filled with people running this event. But we have an event coming up in November, and these are the facts. So it netted last year $75K after all the expenses, but it came in under budget. But it was last year, and that was just the end. The first time we were back together again. So, not so bad. This year, our net budget is $125K. That's how much we hope. Last year, we had 150 guests. This year, we have a goal of 200 guests. Last year, we had 3 10K sponsors, and this year we want to go for 5, and we didn't have any 25K sponsors last year, and we want to go for 2. This is tactical. Help us make this strategic. What's missing? Methods, that would still be tactical, but yeah. Like, okay, so how are we going to do that? How are we going to get those new 25K donors? So let's have a plan for that. Let's have some SMART goals for that. Who's in charge? But we're still in tactics. Yes? What are we trying to achieve? What is the purpose of this event? Yes? A strategic, since this is our goal, this is how this fits in with the bigger picture. For example, I don't see anything in here about retention. Nothing about retention, which should be a strategic goal. That by year 3, we should have a donor retention number of 85%, 90%. Right now it's 41%. How does this event fit in to that? Can you have the 150 guests last year? We want them all to come back because that works with our retention goal. And that means then we need another 50 new. But if all we do is look at the numbers, we had 150 last year, and now this year we had 200, it doesn't say how many you lost. It doesn't say how many you lost. Are you guys all of you have retention goals that you're working? You have strategies for retention, donor retention? Yes, you're nodding. Good, good, good. That's chasing new people when you're letting the people who love you go out the door is just crazy. It's crazy. And we give lip service to it. I hope not anybody. Actually, I've noticed how smart this group is. So nobody in this group is doing that, right? Don't you agree? Yeah, nobody's doing that. But a lot of people give lip service to retention without having strategic approaches to how we are going to get from dismal 41% to a really nice 85, 90% retention rate through the program, right? On every step of the way. Anything else that we need to do to make this strategic? Yes. What's the story? And that needs to be tied into what's the story that we've decided? What are our key messages that we've all agreed on? And how is that being conveyed? What's the plan before, as we go up, as we're ramping up? This is in November. What are we doing? Now going back to tactics, what are we doing to ramp up? What are we doing during? What are all the strategic steps we're going to do, all the strategic conversations? What happens after? On Friday that just passed, so I told you I was the chair of the board of Easter Seals, Florida, but I also am a hands-on volunteer. So on Friday, we were at a conference, huge conference for people with disabilities, and we were teaching children safely how to cook. We were making waffles, and they had a knife that they could cut, and we had fruit on the side, and they had it had adaptive tools that they could use so they wouldn't hurt themselves. So the knife, you could run it across your arm and nothing would happen. The waffle iron doesn't gets but so hot, doing this whole thing. Now, I would hope, and it's only, what day is today? Thursday. So it would seem to me that there should be follow-up, right? Here I am, volunteering. Besides thank you, how does that fit in? Whose portfolio am I in back at the office? How are they following up that experience? What would you have done? I volunteered all day, had a wonderful time, posted pictures on Facebook. What would you have done as a follow-up if I was in your portfolio? First thing you do, right? Karen, thank you, and how'd it go? What else would you do? Ask a kid or one of the parents to send a thank you note. Share the impact. Share the impact. Karen, as I was walking out, 2 of the parents came up to me and said that this just rocked her world. That she didn't realize that her children had so much more ability, that they could actually cook and make breakfast. And I just wanted to say thank you for helping us make that happen. Thank you again. Share impact. But we're missing one thing that's super important. I'm chair of the board. But yeah, giving me another hands-on, because I like hands-on. So yes, I was too flipped there. Yes, what's the next opportunity for hands-on? You're absolutely correct. Reshare the photos. We're still missing something really big and strategic. Who else you can bring? Thank you. What is the donor plan for me? And was this a strategic step, a strategic move, if you will, or not? And what's the next one? Because the next one maybe is going back to what else they want me to do. Maybe the next one is, but making me feel good is a good thing because I felt really great, but how is that leading me to increasing my gift? How is that leading me to doing whatever else they're hoping that I will do? So you want to make sure that there's not a one-off, that things aren't one-off, because that's where your strategic thinking really comes in. I have to move along here. So what's in it for you? What do you think is in it for you? If you become really excellent at strategic thinking and you go in and talk to whomever about rethinking this November event, maybe even not having it. So what? Because you have 8 others. And because there's 2 before that one. And so, Karen, I really can't think strategically about that one because once something happens, I got to get ready for the next one. Okay, so what was my question to you? Oh, what's in it for you? What's in it for you? So you'll have a better outcome, right? Your donors will be more engaged, you'll be more successful. But from a career point of view, what do you think you going in and talking about this event strategically? So personally, you will be more effective. How will you be perceived? Way up. Your credibility goes up because you're backing this with data. You're backing this with information. You're coming at it with ideas. You're not just saying, you know, we shouldn't do this. You're saying, here's how we might do this in a way that's really strategic. Here's how we might make this have a bigger impact. So the benefits to you. Somebody said this earlier about being proactive rather than reactive. It lets you be that. You're making a greater contribution. You become more essential. It helps you anticipate and avoid problems. Readies you for your next challenge. Helps you become more, isn't this list marvelous? Helps you become more organized, become adept at planning your career and your future, greater ability to set priorities, increased influencing. Oh, I love this one. And how does it keep you from having worry and stress? Because you got it all planned out. You've thought it through. I can't tell you how many times we come out of some activity, something that we've done, and then we get together and think, what next? Go in with what's next. Go in with what's going to happen. Making it easy. I was on another board, the Woodrow Wilson Fellowship Foundation, for 10 years. And we'd always, every year, we would have at least 2 big meet the students, meet the teachers, you know, come and see. And my job was to host a table, not sponsor a table, host a table. And they made it so easy. They gave me great notes about everybody that was going to be on at the table. They gave me an easy way to send them the results. They asked questions. They sent me a little form and said, just, you know, answer these questions. They called up and said, Karen, thank you, we got your form. Could I just ask you a few more questions just to kind of fill it out, flesh it out a bit more? You know, they were so ready as a board member for me to help them do their job and help me do my job as a board. So you want to make sure that you are planned and you've got everything smooth and easy. I'll just tell you one other quick one. So I have, every year, I have the board, the governing board, the governing committee, all the members of the governing committee interview all the rest of the members of the board. So everybody gets maybe 3 people that they're responsible for. And I gave them a script. Start with thank you. Here's what we're grateful to you for this year. When you gave me that idea, we used it. When you introduced us to that person, this is what happened. So they know exactly what to thank the person for. And then the next question is, which of your skills and passions have we not tapped into? What are we not using? And then we talked about any problems. I noticed that you find attending meetings challenging. And we're wondering how you see things changing going forward, right? The good news is, and I don't know, some of you have, I'm sure you've had problems with volunteers following through. Every single board member did their job. They had a script, they had numbers, they knew that the window that they had to get it done. We had a meeting coming up where they had to report. You know, when you make it easy for us, your volunteers, we will follow through. When it's hard, or when you're asking me to, well, go raise money from your friends. Like, I'm not doing that. That's horrible. You know, well, invite them over for like a little parlor meeting, Karen, and then ask them all for money. No, I'm not doing that. I will invite them all over for a parlor meeting to have a really good strategic conversation about the things and the problems that we're solving in the community. That I do, and then follow up and ask them for money. But I'm not gonna just, don't ask me just to go raise money from my friends. I won't tell you which organization, but somebody sent me in the mail, one of the places I give to regularly, and they said, would you please raise, I lived in a very, very fancy neighborhood in Westchester County in New York. So I lived in a place called Bedford, New York, and right next to Greenwich, and right, so this is, you know, across the street was Billy Baldwin. That was my neighbor across the street. And I get this letter that says, the goal for your neighborhood is $100, and could you ask 10 of your neighbors for $10? I will not mention the organization's name. I just sent them the $100. Like, here you go. And had you done any research at all? All right, we're moving on. So, we already talked about the first one. You have to know, you have to be curious, you have to ask good questions. And asking strategic and generative questions. Strategic and generative questions. And to add to your toolkit, I'm not sure how I do this, but or to whom I send it, but I will send it. I have a whole list of planning questions, you know, strategic and generative questions to ask your neighbors, to ask how you can influence your boss, to take strategic planning seriously. It's just like a whole set of really good questions that get at what we're trying to do. Generative questions are different from strategic questions. So strategic questions are questions that have a goal. They're not information gathering questions in the sense of, so, how did you get here? Is this your first time you've been here? Or what brought you here? These are more meaty questions. You know, tell me what you were hoping to get out of this experience, and how does this line up? How has it lined up? But generative questions really get people thinking. Like, what if we? So let's go back to the event. What if we actually had all the board members at a table at the event and gave them assignments? I was just wondering, what impact do you think that might have? How might we do that? What are you thinking about, right? Instead of selling, trying to persuade, you are getting people to think. You're getting people to imagine. And you can't do that if you're not a good listener. One of the things that is so important about listening is listening to be understood, listening to be heard, but also listening so the other person feels heard. The other person feels seen. You know, we think about listening as, you know, this is my skill and this is going to help me, but you want the other person to feel heard, feel like that you cared about what they say. And what's a good way to help convey that I've heard you? So repeat back. You want to do that carefully, because if you're constantly doing that, it can get annoying. But that's important. That's important. to make sure you understood what they're saying. What else can you do to make someone feel heard? Ask follow-up questions. That is the most powerful tool in your toolkit. Can you say more about that? Tell me a little bit more. How did that happen? Wow, that sounds really intriguing. What else happened? How did it end up? Follow-up questions are powerful, and they help you link to the next thing that you're trying to get to, right? You're sitting there talking to me. I'm going on and on and on about my 3 beautiful grandsons and super smart. And I'm just going on, and I ask you if you wanted to see the 100 photos that I happen to have on my phone of my guys, and you want to move me back. Karen, that is, oh my goodness. So they're grown. Look how grown they are. That must have an impact on your giving. Those boys must have some impact on your giving. What is that impact that those boys, right? Your questions help you move, and you can always resort to, I want to be so respectful of your time. I'm so interested in what JP is doing, but I really want to be respectful of your time. And I did have a couple of more things I wanted to talk to you about. Oh, okay. You wanted to see one more? The baby's 4. All right. So thinking, synthesizing is an important part of it. You got to go across those silos. You got to move past those silos. And this one is big. You have to listen without judgment. You have to listen without assumptions getting in the way. And you have to listen with your biases back, that you know what they are. And so you are listening, putting those aside. You know what your blind spots are. My blind spot is now actually a bias. It's a blind spot when you don't know it. It's just something you repeat and you repeat and you repeat until somebody pulls your coat and says, hey. But a bias is kind of baked in. I love charming people. I am so easily sucked in by a charming person. And I, in my brain, equate charm with intelligence. And that's not true. And you can just get sucked in. One of the things that happens to authors who have books out in the world, which I do, I have 3 books out in the world and a 4th coming in September. But marketers track you down. Oh, we can help you sell. We could get you, 1,000, Instagram views. We can. And Mike, this guy Mike, he was so charming. He called me up, Karen, I saw, oh my goodness, congratulations. I love your covers. It's so good. And I have a deal for you. And I am going to guarantee, do you know how few marketers will guarantee? But I do. And I'm like, oh, okay, Mike. Oh, this sounds really good. But then this other voice is saying, Karen, slow down, slow your roll, baby. And he says, and for $1,800, I just want you to know that I make like 5 cents on each book. So think about how many books I'd have to sell to make up $1,800 that I'm going to invest in charming Mike. Know your blind spots. Know your biases. I did not sign the contract. Yes. Let me just pause here quickly if you have any questions, because I want us to talk about carving out time. But if you have any thoughts, pushback, questions, and anything that we've talked about up till now. Everybody's good? You with me? Okay. So, because we really, really have to talk about carving out time. I am sure many of you are familiar with Covey's quadrants, but do you use them? So, I think almost all of us are good at the important and urgent. You know, you wouldn't be here. Nobody would invest in you and let you come to a conference if you weren't already performing well in that quadrant. But the one that's blocked, that we stick at, maybe we stink in too, I don't know, is the important, not urgent. Like what? What falls in important but not urgent that you neglect? Process documentation. Self-care. I'm thinking that's not important. Just shake it out, you know? What falls in that quadrant for you? There you go. There you go. Yes, building that long tail of donors. Yes. Cleaning up the database, important, but not urgent until it becomes urgent. Yes, and that's what happens to things there. Planning, doing your strategic planning, getting that stewardship, a strategic plan done. And what's eating up your time instead? Notifications, meetings that maybe don't even need to happen, meetings without agendas. Patrick Lencioni wrote a book called Death by Meeting. So many of them. What else is in that one? Emails. How many morning people do I have in this room? People who are at your best in the morning. And how many night people are in the room? Like the morning, I'm like, and guess what happens to night people in the morning? They are getting and looking at emails from all of those morning people. And the morning people are getting swamped by all those emails that came to them at midnight and 1 o'clock from the night people. You don't have to respond at the moment that you're not at your best. You know, you don't have to respond. And if you have to let people know that you at least got it, you can just send a quick note. I'm going to look at this at 11 when I'm awake. You want to use your critical thinking time. My husband is kind of a midday guy. He's like 10 to 3, 10 to 4. Don't talk to him in the morning. Don't talk to him at night about anything really important. But midday, he's like on it. I don't know if we have any midday people here. But you want to make sure that you have strategies for avoiding, delegating, eliminating, or solving those things that are eating your time. Somebody else's urgency is eating your time. Somebody who's one of those folks that love everything is at the last minute. You know, people who just procrastinate, and then they have a flurry, but now it's your problem because they have all of these things that you have to take care of right away. As a manager, I had a really bad habit. I always had an idea a minute, and I would just bop into somebody's office. You know what we should do? I got this cool, all my ideas were cool, great, fabulous. I have this fabulous idea, and this is what I think we should do. I gave my team permission to say no. To say no. Nicely, you know, politely. No. Did you get no up there? No is a yes to something more important. It was either Covey or Peter Drucker who coined that expression. I can't remember which one, but no is a yes to yourself, to your self-care. No is a yes to something that is a higher priority. So how scary is that? Are you good at saying no? We're people pleasers. No. We are people pleasers. That's why we're in this business. We tend to be yes people. Yes, you want me to jump how high? Yes, I could get that done. It just means that I have to work until 10 o'clock tonight. Yes, I can do that, but I'm going to have to give up what I was doing this weekend. No. No. You are going to be so much more successful. You're going to be better. You're going to be a better person. You're going to feel better. You're going to be able to be more efficient if you learn to pick and choose your no's. Not your nose. I saw that smile, and you thought that was an oops. Pick and choose where you say no. No picking your nose. And, it could be yes. Yes, Karen, that's a great idea. I love it. No, I can't drop everything now and start working on it. But yes, we should talk about it soon. Okay. One of the things that I used to do is when people came into my office, I would keep my hands on the keyboard. Yes. That sends a signal. Or get up. Get up. Do you know that people mirror each other's behaviors? So you stand up. They don't sit down. You start walking towards your door. Is that the one that yeah, you're remembering that one? Yes. You start walking them to the door. Okay, this sounds like an appointment rather than a pop-in. So I know that Lucy will set up an appointment with you. Okay, all right. People will mirror your behavior. You let them sit. I used to keep chocolates on my desk. Big mistake. Big mistake. People would sit and start unpeeling those little, Hershey's. They would start peeling them and eating, and it's all over, right? It's all over. You're just sucked in. And you are also a box. You, your family, your friends, your health, your spirituality, your volunteerism, your hobbies, you are as important as those things that are at the top. Urgent and important, because some of our issues here are urgent. You gotta take care of them. And some of them are important but not urgent. Yeah. I want to share this with you in my closing minutes here. As you think about making time, carving out time, can't make time. As you think about carving out time, I have found this little formula to be, it's so simple, but it's powerful. So you notice it doesn't say best practices. It says proven practices. If we chase best practices, this is someone else's opinion. Oh, well, these are best practices. This is what you should do because it's best practice. Maybe it's best practice in your shop. Maybe it was best practice when you actually were in charge of something. Maybe, whatever. Proven practice has data behind it. Proven practice has experience behind it. Proven practice is something that you know works. That you're confident it works. Plus, innovation. So many things came, when you look at all the things that came out of COVID, and now all the things that are coming out of AI, innovation is fine if you are not moving proven practice aside. You're thinking about, how do I add this? Where can I add this? And you can't add it if you don't say no. So it's minus unworthy activities. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. If there's something that you're doing over and over again and it's not working, stop. Stop. If you've got too many events, get rid of them, please. If they're not working, doing the things that should be doing for you, get rid of them. And have an unworthy of your time, unworthy of your intellect, unworthy of your career, unworthy of the mission of your organization. When you think about unworthy, it's a powerful way to decide what we're going to say no to. Right? And that's how we get to success. So, next steps. When you leave, I hope that you'll find time, make time, carve time to do the Covey exercise. Really look at what is sucking your time, to free up time for you to do those things that help you think strategically, act strategically, speak strategically. When you're talking about big picture, you're talking about how things align with your values, how it aligns with the strategic institutional plan, right? You want to make sure that you finish that exercise and then come up with some solutions. Identify what you need to strengthen, develop time-bound strategies, act and measure. Remember, you have more power than you know. Thanks. Thank you.